The blaze lit up the night sky, sparks shooting upward like fiery comets as Sam Colt's heart hammered in his chest. His horse's hooves thundered across the dry Wyoming ground, carrying him straight toward the inferno. Before we kick off this adventure, don't forget to hit like on the video and let us know in the comments where you're watching from. It was 1875, and out here in the frontier, mercy was hard to come by. Yet something stronger than fear drove him forward, while the fire raged like judgment itself. Sam had been tracking a band of wild mustangs when he noticed the orange glow dancing on the horizon. Now the heat slapped his face raw, the cabin groaning and cracking as flames chewed through the timbers. "Hello?" he hollered, tugging a bandana over his mouth and nose. "Anyone inside?" A weak cry cut through the roar of fire. Without a second thought, Sam leapt from his horse, tied the reins to a post, and stormed toward the door. The hinges sagged, and the entry hung half-broken. He kicked it wide and ducked low, smoke burning his eyes as he searched. From the haze came a woman's strained voice. "Over here." He spotted her, crouched on the floor, clutching a little girl tight to her chest. The woman's face was streaked with soot, honey-colored hair, falling loose, and the child trembled in her arms, no older than 6 or 7. "I'll get you out," Sam shouted above the crackling beams. "Can you stand?" She shook her head, grimacing. "My ankle broken, I think." A beam gave way behind them, crashing down in a shower of sparks. Sam wasted no time. He scooped the girl into one arm and swept the woman up with the other. She felt lighter than he expected, or maybe the rush of desperate strength carried him. "Hold on tight," he ordered. Both clung to his neck as he pushed through the choking heat. His lungs screamed for clean air, while the cabin threatened to cave. With a last surge, Sam burst through the doorway, just as the roof collapsed in behind him. The warm night air felt like salvation as he staggered to safety with the mother and child in his arms. His horse sidestepped nervously, but held steady as Sam set the pair gently on the grass, well clear of the blaze. The woman's green eyes shone even through soot and tears. "Thank you," she whispered hoarsely. "You saved our lives." "Anyone would have done the same, ma'am," Sam answered, sweeping off his hat and running a hand through his sweat-damp hair. "Name's Sam Colt." "Rose Harlan," she breathed, then looked down at the girl, gripping her tightly. "And this is my daughter, Clara." Clara peeked up at him, wide-eyed wonder, fighting with fear. "Are you an angel?" she asked softly. Sam managed a short laugh, despite the smoke still clawing his throat. "No, little one, just a cowboy riding by." His gaze drifted back to the cabin, now swallowed whole by flames. "What happened?" he asked. "Where's your husband?" A shadow crossed Rose's face. "He passed 2 winters ago. Pneumonia. Since then, it's just been Clara and me." She turned toward the burning wreck. "I was cooking supper when the lamp tipped. It happened so fast." Sam nodded, knowing how quick fate could turn. "Got family nearby?" "Anyone you can stay with?" Rose shook her head, pain flickering as she shifted her ankle. "No. Everything we owned was in that cabin." The weight of her words hung heavy. Sam studied her face in the glow of fire, young no more than 25, but there was a quiet strength there that stirred something deep in him. "The closest town's Clearwater, 10 miles west," he said firmly. "I keep a room at the boarding house. You and your little girl can rest there tonight. We'll figure out the rest come morning." Rose hesitated. "We can't impose." Sam raised a hand. "Ain't no imposition. I wouldn't sleep worth a damn knowing I left you with nowhere to go." Finally, she nodded. "Thank you." "Mr. Colt." "Sam?" he corrected with a small smile. "Out here, folks don't fuss much with titles." He helped her up, steadying her, as she tried her weight on the injured ankle. It was clear she wouldn't be walking tonight. He lifted Clara into the saddle, then eased Rose up behind her. "I'll walk alongside," he said, gathering the reins. "It ain't far." As they started down the trail, leaving the ruins in the distance, Sam kept stealing glances at the woman and child riding his horse. Their fragility cut into him, yet he sensed a fierce resilience in Rose that stirred parts of his heart he'd thought long dead. The sky stretched wide and endless stars scattered like silver dust across black velvet. Clara sagged against her mother, drifting into sleep. Rose held her close with one arm, the other gripping the saddle horn. Sam broke the silence. "Been out this way long." 3 years? Rose replied softly. "My husband James brought us from St. Louis. He dreamed of building a ranch. When he died, I tried to keep it afloat, but it's near impossible for one woman alone." "That it is," Sam agreed. "I've been drifting near 5 years now, Texas, Montana, all over. Never stuck long enough to set roots." She tilted her head toward him. "And what brought you to Wyoming?" Sam looked up at the stars. "Heard about wild Mustangs roaming these hills. I've always had a way with horses. Figured I might catch a few, train 'em, sell 'em in town." "Is that all you're after? Just horses to trade?" Rose's question lingered in the night air, heavier than the words themselves. Sam paused, letting the silence stretch. "Truth is," he admitted, "I ain't rightly sure what I'm after anymore. Just been riding wherever the wind decides to push me." Rose gave a slow nod, as if she understood that kind of wandering. "Funny thing about the wind," she said softly. "It tends to blow folks right where they belong, even when they don't see it yet." Their eyes caught in the dark, and something passed between them, quiet, but certain, like two souls recognizing each other out in the wilderness. By the time the lights of Clearwater flickered ahead, Sam found himself hoping the wind had finally carried him home. The boarding house sat plain but steady at the edge of town, a lamp glowing in the front window. Agnes Boone, the widowed keeper of the place, answered his knock. Stern as ever, her frown shifted quick to worry when she spotted Rose and Clara. "Good heavens, what happened?" she gasped, ushering them inside. Sam laid it out in few words, while Agnes clucked her tongue, shaking her head. "Poor dears. Of course you'll stay here. There's a room open right beside Mr. Colt's." "I don't have any money just now," Rose murmured, her face flushing with shame. "Nonsense," Agnes cut her off. "Payment's the last thing you need to fret about. Let's see to that ankle and get you settled." While Agnes tended Rose, Sam carried Clara upstairs. The little girl stirred as he pulled off her dusty boots and laid her under a quilt. Her eyes blinked open just long enough to whisper, "Mr. Cowboy, I'm here, little one," he said gently. "Are you going to stay with us?" she mumbled, half dreaming. "I'll be right next door." "Now you and your mama get some rest." "Thank you for saving us," she breathed before sleep claimed her again. Sam lingered a moment, struck by the weight of her simple gratitude. For all they'd lost, she still managed to give thanks. It humbled him. Downstairs he found Agnes binding Rose's ankle with strips of cloth. "Just a sprain," the older woman declared. "A few days' rest, and you'll be back on your feet." "Thank you," Rose said quietly, then looked to Sam when he stepped in. "Clara's sound asleep," he assured her. Rose smiled faintly. "She's braver than I am sometimes. She takes after her father. James. He was the bravest man I ever knew." Agnes tied off the bandage. "That should help with the swelling. Now I've drawn a bath for you, and I left some of my daughter's old clothes. A touch roomy, but they're clean." "You're too kind," Rose whispered, trying to stand. Sam was beside her at once, steadying her. "Easy now. Let me help." She leaned against him as they walked toward the washroom. At the doorway, she paused, her eyes meeting his. "I don't know how to ever thank you properly. If you hadn't come along—" Sam shook his head. Don't trouble yourself over thanks. Get some rest. We'll talk in the morning." When she was settled, he returned to his own room, stripped off his smoke-stained clothes, washed the soot from his skin, and dropped onto the bed. Sleep didn't come easy. His thoughts kept circling back to the woman and child across the hall. In 32 years, Sam had never let himself get tangled in other folks' burdens. A drifting cowboy didn't take on roots or responsibilities, but Rose Harlan and her daughter had cracked through that armor somehow. Maybe it was the steel hidden in Rose's eyes. Maybe the trust shining from Clara's. Or maybe the wind was just shifting at last. With that thought, he finally drifted into uneasy dreams, green eyes in the firelight, a cabin burning, and the weight of a family in his arms. Morning came with the smell of coffee and bacon drifting through the hall. Sam dressed quick and made his way to the kitchen where Agnes stood over a skillet. "How are they?" he asked. "Still sleeping, poor things," Agnes replied. "That little girl never stirred once when I peeked in. Wore out, I expect." Sam accepted the cup she offered. "I'm riding back to what's left of their place. Maybe something survived the fire." "That's decent of you, Sam Colt," she said, eyeing him with a rare smile. "Always knew there was a soft heart hiding under that rough hide." The praise set his face warm. "Just doing what needs doing, ma'am." After breakfast, he saddled up and rode back. In daylight, the hills stretched golden and harsh, dotted with scrub and pine. By the time he reached the cabin site, nothing remained but black timbers and skeletal furniture frames. He picked his way through the rubble until he spotted a warped metal box. Inside were keepsakes, a wedding ring, letters tied with faded ribbon, and a daguerreotype of a young man with little Clara on his knee. James Harlan, no doubt. Sam gathered what he could salvage: a skillet from the ashes, a singed quilt still mostly intact, and a china doll with only a few scorch marks. As Sam Colt gathered the few relics spared from the blaze, he spotted marks in the dirt near the old barn. Hoofprints too many, too deliberate to belong to wild mustangs. His gut tightened. Riders had circled the place maybe even before the fire started. A chill ran through him. Accidents happened. Lamps tipped, sparks flew, but the thought of several men hanging around the home of a widow and her child told a darker story. He stowed the salvaged keepsakes in his saddlebags, swung into the saddle, and took one last slow loop around the property. The trail of tracks stretched north, straight toward the hills where folks whispered about outlaw camps preying on lonely homesteads. By midday, Sam rode back into Clearwater, suspicion heavy on his mind. On the boarding house porch sat Rose Harlan, her injured ankle propped on a stool. The daylight softened her hair, braided neat, her freckled face scrubbed clean of soot, and a plain blue dress borrowed from Agnes Boone's daughter hanging loose on her frame. She looked up, her face brightening when she saw him. "Sam, Agnes said you went back to the cabin," she called. He dismounted, tied off his horse, and brought the items forward. Rose's eyes widened as he placed each piece in her hands. When he set the warped metal box in her lap, her fingers trembled. "I thought this was gone," she whispered, opening it. Her eyes filled as she touched the wedding ring and daguerreotype. "James?" Sam's voice was low. "I'm sorry there wasn't more." "This is enough," she said firmly, blinking back tears. "This means everything." "Thank you. Clara will be thrilled to see her doll. She's inside helping Agnes bake bread," Sam told her, as he lowered himself into a chair beside her. Then his expression hardened. "Rose, I need to ask. Before the fire, did you notice anything strange? Strangers passing by?" Her grip tightened on the box. 3 men rode up 2 days back. Claimed they wanted work, but they asked too many questions: if I lived alone, what valuables we had, if anyone checked in on us. "What did you tell them?" Sam pressed. "I lied," Said my husband would be home any day with supplies. They seemed to believe it and rode off. Sam's jaw clenched. Did one of them have a scar running down his cheek like a knife cut? Rose nodded. Yes. Clear as day. Rafe Slade. Sam muttered. He rides with Kane Mercer's gang. They've been tearing up ranches all the way from Dakota. Fear flickered in Rose's eyes. You think they set the fire? It's possible, Sam said. When exactly did that lamp fall right after I put Clara to bed? I was tidying the kitchen when I heard a noise outside. I thought it was an animal, but maybe someone meant to distract me. Sam finished the thought. So they could light it. They sat quiet for a long moment. At last, Rose's voice steadied. What do we do now? Everything we had is gone. For now, you and Clara stay put where it's safe, Sam said. Agnes mentioned the town's looking for a school teacher. With your education. She blinked in surprise. How did you know I was educated? He smiled faintly. The way you speak? The books I found in the ruins. You're no stranger to learning. Her cheeks colored. I taught in St. Louis before James and I married. I've been teaching Clara, but I never thought of doing it again as a profession. It'd give you a clean start, Sam suggested. Comes with a cottage behind the schoolhouse. Hope glimmered in her eyes. And you, will you be moving on? Back to your Mustangs? Sam hesitated. Just days ago, the answer would have been easy. But now, those horses aren't going anywhere, he said finally. And Clearwater's got trouble brewing. Could be they need another hand against Mercer's gang. Rose's smile broke like dawn. Then Clearwater would be lucky to have you. Before Sam could answer, the door swung open, and Clara Harlan bounded out, her little hands dusted white with flour. Mr. Cowboy, Agnes, let me bake bread, she cried, grinning. That's so, Sam chuckled. Well, I've got something for you. He pulled the china doll from his saddlebag. Clara's eyes went wide. Molly, she squealed, hugging it tight. Mama, look. Molly didn't burn. I see Sweetheart Rose, said, her gaze warm as it met Sam's. Mr. Colt saved her same as he saved us. Clara flung her arms around Sam's neck. Thank you, Mr. Cowboy. Unaccustomed to such open affection, he patted her back awkwardly. You're welcome, little one. Over her shoulder, Sam's eyes found Rose's again. Something shifted deep inside him, as though pieces of his life, long scattered, were finally finding their place. The days that followed slid into a steady rhythm. Rose applied for the teaching position, and her grace and education impressed the town council. They hired her without hesitation. The little cottage behind the schoolhouse wasn't much to look at, boards, weathered roof in need of patching. But to Rose Harlan and her daughter, it was hope. A new beginning. Meanwhile, Sam Colt had been speaking with Jed Maddox Clearwater's sheriff. The man was steady but graying, and he welcomed Sam's offer to help deal with Kane Mercer's gang that had been tormenting settlers. Could use a deputy with your grit, Jed admitted after hearing Sam's background. Pays lean, but you'd get quarters above the office. Better than drifting. The word permanent struck Sam strange. It had never been part of his vocabulary. Yet every time he pictured Rose and little Clara Harlan, he felt the tug to stay close to guard them, to watch Clara grow, to see Rose piece her life back together. I'll think on it. Sam told the sheriff, though, deep down the decision was already made. 4 nights after the fire, Sam walked Rose to the schoolhouse to see the cottage that would soon be theirs. Clara skipped ahead, darting around the yard with boundless energy. It needs work, Rose said softly, eyeing the sagging step. But it's got good bones. I can help, Sam offered. Roof's got holes and that front step's near ready to give. She glanced at him, uncertainty in her eyes. I thought you'd be moving on. Sam rubbed at the back of his neck like a shy boy. Actually, Sheriff Maddox asked me to take up a deputy's badge. Her brows lifted. And are you going to accept I'm leaning that way? He answered. Rose stepped closer, her green eyes holding his. Any particular reason a drifter would want to stay in clear water? Sam's voice dropped low. Maybe this drifter's tired of drifting. Maybe he's found something worth staying for. The air between them charged heavy with things unsaid. Sam caught the scent of lavender clinging to her borrowed dress, saw the sun setting fire to her honey-brown hair. "Mama, come look!" Clara's voice rang out from inside. "There's a real fireplace," Rose flushed, stepping back quickly. "We should see." The cottage was simple, but sturdy, one main room with a stone hearth, a bedroom, and a lean-to kitchen. As they moved through the space, Sam made mental notes of repairs. Clara chattered happily about where her bed should go and how she'd help decorate. "It's perfect," Rose declared, her voice filled with quiet conviction. A fresh start. Later, walking back to the boarding house with Clara racing ahead to catch fireflies, Sam found his courage. "Rose, if those men or others like them come back, do you want me to teach you how to shoot, for protection?" She hesitated, then nodded. "James tried once, but I was too afraid of the kick. Still, for Clara's sake, I should learn." "We'll start small," Sam said. She teased gently, a smile tugging her lips. "So you really are planning to stay? If that's all right with you and Clara," he replied. Rose stopped and faced him. "Sam Colt, in just a few days, you've saved our lives, helped us find a home, and offered to stand guard over us without asking a thing in return. I think I speak for both Clara and myself when I say we'd be mighty glad if you stayed." Her words made his heart pound harder than any gunfight ever had. He'd faced stampedes and outlaws without blinking, yet one schoolteacher left him tongue-tied. "Well, that's good then," he muttered. Rose laughed softly, music in the twilight. "For a man of action, you sure stumble over words, Mr. Colt. Only around you, Mrs. Harlan," he admitted. Before anything more could be said, Clara ran back, hands cupped. "Look what I caught." She opened them to reveal a glowing firefly. They leaned close together to admire it, and Sam felt something settle deep in his chest. Maybe this was what he'd been searching for all along. Not just a place to stay, but people to belong with. The week that followed was full of change. Sam took the deputy's badge and moved into the quarters above the sheriff's office. When not on duty, he worked on the cottage with Clara, acting as his eager helper. "Pass me that hammer, little one," he'd say, and she'd hand it over with solemn pride, watching as he nailed boards and patched holes. Rose spent her hours preparing lessons for her new post as teacher, sewing clothes from cloth donated by town's women. Her calm strength quickly won over Clearwater, and neighbors rallied around her with frontier generosity. One evening, Sam finished replacing the front steps just as Rose brought him a glass of lemonade. "You're working too hard," she said gently. "You've got deputy duties too." He took the glass with gratitude. "Want this place sturdy before you and Clara move in. Winter'll come sooner than we think. At this pace, we'll be settled before the first snow." Rose sat beside him, her voice warm. "I can never repay you for all you've done. Seeing you and Clara safe, that's all the payment I need." She studied his face in the golden light. "You're a rare man, Sam Colt. Most would have left us at the town gates, good deed done." "I'm not most men," he said simply. "No," she agreed softly. "You're not." Inside, Clara arranged her treasures, the china doll saved from the fire, and a little wooden horse Sam had carved with his own hands. Through the open window drifted the sound of Clara Harlan's soft humming as she flipped the pages of a picture book Agnes Boone had given her. The gentle tune filled the evening air, weaving around the quiet talk on the porch. "Sheriff Maddox mentioned you've been asking about Kane Mercer's gang," Rose Harlan said, steering the conversation into darker waters. Sam Colt nodded. Word is they've ridden north, but those devils circle back to pick at the bones of the places they've already bled. They could show their faces in Clearwater again. You think they might come back here? Rose's voice was calm, but the tightness in her eyes betrayed her worry. It's possible, Sam said. That's why I want you to learn to handle a firearm like we talked about. Rose took a steadying breath. I've been thinking on that. You're right. For Clara's sake, if nothing else, I need to learn. We'll start tomorrow, Sam promised. I've got a small revolver that'll fit your hand. Tomorrow, then, she agreed. The dusk deepened around them, and neither seemed eager to rise from their chairs. The silence was comfortable, the kind that didn't demand to be filled. When Clara's voice carried from inside Mama, I'm hungry, they finally stood. Will you stay for supper? Rose asked shyly. Agnes sent over a stew, and there's more than enough. I'd be honored, Sam said, unable to resist the warmth in her invitation. They ate by lamplight, Clara chattering about rabbits she'd seen near the schoolyard, and her hopes of making friends once lessons began. Afterward, Sam read aloud from Clara's picture book, while Rose washed dishes the scene, striking him with an odd sense of belonging. It felt less like chance had thrown them together, more like they'd always been meant to sit at one table. When Clara finally drooped with sleep, Rose tucked her into the small bed in their single bedroom. Returning, she found Sam at the hearth, coaxing the fire to life. She's growing fond of you, Rose observed quietly. She asks for you every time you're gone. She's easy to love, Sam replied. Reminds me of my little sister, fearless, curious, always full of questions. You had a sister, Rose asked gently. Sam's face grew distant. I did. Fever took her at 12. My father died not long after farming accident. My mother followed, though the doctor called it consumption. I think her heart just broke. I'm sorry, Rose murmured, laying a hand on his arm. Is that when you took to drifting? He nodded. Nothing left in Tennessee. I worked my way west, one ranch after another. Never stayed long. Until now, Rose said, her eyes catching the firelight. Until now, he echoed. For a heartbeat, the air thickened. His gaze dropped to her lips, wondering how they might feel against his. Her cheeks flushed, as if she'd read his thought, and she stepped back. It's getting late, she said softly. And you promised me shooting lessons tomorrow. That I did. Sam cleared his throat. I'll be here mid-morning. It suits perfectly. He grabbed his hat from the peg. Good night, Rose. Good night, Sam. And thank you for everything. Back in his quarters above the sheriff's office, Sam tilted his head toward the starlit sky. The certainty washed over him like a tide. It should have scared him, but it didn't. He was falling in love with Rose Harlan. The next morning, behind the schoolhouse, Sam laid out the revolver. Patiently, he showed her how to load it, aim and squeeze the trigger. The first shots went wide bottles still standing on the fence posts, but Rose's jaw set with determination, and by the third lesson she was shattering glass with a steady hand. You're a natural? Sam praised as another bottle toppled. Rose lowered the gun, a pleased smile breaking across her face. I never thought I'd say this, but it feels good. Strong power, Sam said knowingly. After feeling helpless, it's power to know you can stand your ground. Yes, she whispered, emptying the shells into her palm, though I pray I never need to use it on a living soul. As do I, Sam said. But the world don't always bend to prayer. August bled into September, the prairie heat giving way to the bite of autumn. Sam split his days between deputy work and helping Rose and Clara settle into their new life. The cottage grew whole again, furnished with donations from neighbors, and pieces Sam built with his own hands, including a carved bed frame for Clara, tiny flowers etched along the headboard. When the schoolhouse opened, Rose proved herself a gifted teacher. Children of all ages leaned in under her gentle but firm guidance. Sam often found himself pausing outside, watching through the window as she brought history and poetry alive. One afternoon, Jed Maddox caught him lingering. "Thinking of furthering your education," Deputy the Sheriff teased. Sam reddened. "Just making sure everything's in order?" "Uh-huh," Jed smirked. "And it's got nothing to do with the pretty school teacher inside." Sam opened his mouth, but Jed cut him off with a raised hand. "Save it, son. Whole town can see it plain as day. Question is when you gonna do something about it." The words stuck with Sam as he went about his duties. He couldn't deny it. Every smile Rose offered, every brush of her hand, every quiet talk on the porch had settled into his heart. But was it too soon? Her husband had been gone only 2 years. What if she saw him only as a friend? The fear of breaking what they had kept him cautious. Then came the letter. It arrived from St. Louis, from her late husband's brother, offering Rose and Clara a home with his family. The news rippled through Clearwater, and dread sank in Sam's stomach. The thought of Rose leaving, of Clara's laughter vanishing from these streets, of losing them both. That evening he found Rose sitting on the porch, the letter trembling in her hands. "You've heard then," Rose Harlan said softly, as Sam Colt stepped onto the porch. He nodded, trying to steady his voice. "Will you go?" Rose sighed. It would be the sensible thing. Clara would have cousins, a proper home with family. "Is that what you want?" Sam asked, his heart tight. Her green eyes lifted to his searching. "What I want has changed since Clearwater." She rose, closing the space between them. "James's brother is a good man, but St. Louis isn't home anymore. This is." Relief rushed through Sam, but he needed to be sure. "Because of the schoolhouse, or because of the teaching," Rose said simply, "and because of you. You rode into a burning cabin and carried us out, but you didn't stop there. You've been saving us every day since, giving us safety, belonging, a reason to stay." Sam stepped forward, voice low. "Rose, I've been meaning to tell you. I've never felt for anyone what I feel for you. I know it might be soon, and if you need more time." Her answer came in a kiss, soft at first, then deeper as Sam wrapped his arms around her. When they finally parted, breathless Rose's eyes glistened. "Does that answer your question?" "It does," he murmured against her forehead, "though I wouldn't mind hearing it again." She laughed light as summer rain. "I love you, Sam Colt. I think I've been falling for you since the night you pulled Clara and me from that fire." "I love you too," he said without hesitation. "And I want a life with you and Clara, if you'll have me. We'll have you piped a small voice." They turned to find Clara Harlan in the doorway, her doll clutched close, a grin spreading across her face. "Were you listening?" young Lady Rose asked, though her tone held no scold. Clara nodded. "Agnes says you and Mr. Cowboy are sweet on each other. Are you getting married?" Rose and Sam exchanged startled looks before breaking into smiles. "Would you like that, Clara?" Sam asked, kneeling. She tilted her head thoughtfully. "Would you live with us? Read me stories at night. Teach me to ride horses like you promised. All that and more," Sam assured her. "Then yes," Clara declared. "You should marry Mama." Rose ruffled her daughter's hair, laughing. "It's not quite that simple, sweetheart. Why not?" Clara pressed. "You love each other. That's what matters." Sam caught Rose's gaze over Clara's head. She makes a mighty strong argument. She does, Rose agreed softly. Later. After Clara drifted to sleep, Sam and Rose sat together on the porch swing Sam had hung the week before. He took her hand, his voice steady. I meant what I said. I want a life with you. If you need more time, time is precious, Rose interrupted gently. James taught me that. We never know how much we have. I don't want to waste another moment. Sam lifted her hand to his lips. Then marry me, Rose Harlan. Let me be a father to Clara, and let's build a family together. Yes, she whispered, tears of joy spilling. Yes, I'll marry you. Their kiss sealed the promise under the endless Wyoming sky. Sam marveled at how riding into a fire had led him here to the greatest gift of his life. News of their engagement spread quick through Clearwater. The town embraced it as though it belonged to them all, the cowboy who'd saved a widow and her child, now building a future from the ashes. Preparations began at once. A modest ceremony in the church, followed by a celebration in the schoolyard. The women sewed Rose a pale blue dress, while at Jed Maddox's insistence, Sam ordered a proper suit from the general store. Can't have you saying vows in trail dust and leather, the sheriff had declared. But 2 weeks before the wedding trouble came, a rider from a northern ranch brought word Kane Mercer's gang had been spotted heading south. Jed called an emergency meeting in the town hall. We need to be ready, he told the townsfolk. These men are killers. They've burned homes and worse. We should form patrols, suggested Eli Travis the blacksmith, his voice firm. Take turns watching the borders. Heads nodded, voices rose, and a schedule was drawn. Sam was put in charge, his tracking skills vital in following the gang's trail. That evening, walking Rose home, he saw the fear she tried to hide. You think it's them, don't you? She asked quietly, careful. Clara wouldn't overhear. Sam's face was grim. The description matches. Rafe Slade's scar, and all ridin' with Kane Mercer's crew. What if they recognize me? What if they come after us again? He stopped, taking her hands in his. I won't let that happen. You're not alone in a cabin anymore. You've got me. Sheriff Maddox and the whole town standing with you. Rose's eyes softened. I know. It's just we were so close to our happy ending. And we still are. Sam vowed, pulling her into his arms. This is just a storm. It'll pass. Our wedding will come as planned, and nothing not Kane Mercer, not his men, will stop it. Sam meant every word, but as he and Rose Harlan walked toward the cottage, a heavy unease gnawed at him. The name Kane Mercer carried a reputation drenched in blood. If Mercer's gang had truly set fire to Rose's cabin, would they rest knowing she and Clara Harlan had survived? Or would they come back to finish what they started? The days that followed stretched tight with tension. Patrols rode the outskirts of Clearwater, and Sam spent long hours in the saddle eyes sweeping the ridges for signs of trouble. Jed Maddox sent telegrams to nearby settlements warning them and asking for word of the gang. Rose kept teaching, determined not to let fear rob the children of their lessons, though Sam noticed the small revolver tucked discreetly inside her desk drawer. Each evening, Sam escorted Rose and Clara home, checking every corner of the cottage before leaving them to rest. On the fourth day returning from patrol, he spotted fresh tracks. 5 horses moving quietly along the creek bed, trying to mask their approach. His stomach tightened as he recognized one set of shoes, the same he'd seen near Rose's burned homestead. Spurring his horse hard, he cut across the hills, racing to reach Clearwater before the riders. The schoolhouse was just emptying when he arrived, children scattering into the street with slates and books clutched in their hands. Rose stood in the doorway, offering smiles and farewells. Sam leapt from his saddle and strode toward her, his face grave. "Where's Clara?" he demanded, no time for gentleness. Rose's smile vanished. inside, gathering her things. "Sam, what's wrong?" "They're coming," he said flatly. "Kane Mercer and his men. I saw their tracks heading straight this way." He cast a sharp glance at the dispersing children. "Get Clara. Both of you head for the sheriff's office. It's the safest ground in town." Rose's face paled, but her voice stayed steady. "I'll fetch her." She slipped inside. Sam scanned the open land. The schoolhouse sat too far from the town's center, exposed. He cursed under his breath. Then he caught sight of dust rising from the road by the creek. His voice rang out sharp. "Rose. They're here." She emerged, clutching Clara's hand. "What do we do? We'll never make it before they cut us off." Sam made a snap decision. "The root cellar behind the cottage, it's deep, the door hidden under brush. Go and don't come out until I come for you." Rose hesitated only long enough to press a quick kiss to his cheek. "Be careful." Then she scooped Clara up and ran. Sam held his ground until they vanished, then positioned himself at the front of the schoolhouse, revolver ready. He couldn't take on 5 armed men head-on, but he could buy time. Time for Rose and Clara to stay hidden and for help to arrive. The riders appeared cautious, scanning. At the front rode a tall figure in a black hat, Mercer himself. Beside him was Rafe Slade, his scar carved deep from eye to jaw, just as Rose had described. Behind them rode 3 grim faces, Cole Briggs, Dusty Ward, and Hank Crow. "Afternoon, gentlemen," Sam called, steady as stone. "Something I can do for you?" Mercer drew up his reins, eyes cold. "Maybe. We're looking for a woman and her girl. Heard tell they might be nearby. Plenty of women and girls in Clearwater," Sam replied evenly. "Any particular names?" The widow Harlan Rafe, cut in hand, hovering near his gun. "Had a cabin north till recently." Sam kept his face unreadable. "The schoolteacher." "What business do you have with her?" "Personal," Mercer said curtly. "She's here, ain't she?" "School's out for the day," Sam said, voice flat. "You're lying," Rafe snarled, nudging his horse forward. "We saw you talking to her just now." "Then you need better eyes," Sam shot back. "That was Miss Wilson, the seamstress. She was dropping off fabric for the pageant." The men exchanged dark looks, not convinced. Sam's pulse thundered, but he held his ground. Every minute mattered. Every moment gave Jed and the townsfolk a chance to notice the riders. Mercer tilted his head. "Funny. You standing guard over this place like it's yours. Wouldn't happen to be the cowboy who pulled her out of that fire, would you?" Sam said nothing. Silence was enough. "Thought so," Mercer sneered. "See, a rancher up north named of Victor Kane paid us to drive her off that land. Fire should have done it, but it didn't. So here we are. So Kane sent you to finish what he started," Sam growled. Mercer shrugged. "Business is business. Now tell us where the widow is and no one else has to die." "Not gonna happen," Sam said, hand tightening on his Colt. Mercer gave a slow nod. "That's a shame. Ain't it Rafe's scar twisted into a grin? Oh, I like a peaceful ending. Peaceful as a grave." He drew fast, but Sam was faster. His shot cracked like thunder, slamming into Rafe's shoulder and spinning him sideways in the saddle. Gunfire erupted. Sam dove behind the water trough as bullets ripped wood to splinters. He fired back, steady and sure, each shot finding its mark. One outlaw toppled dead from his horse. A round grazed Sam's arm, fire searing across his skin, but he kept shooting. Then, Mercer. A booming voice cut through the chaos. "Throw down your weapons." Sam risked a glance. Jed Maddox and a line of armed townsmen advanced, rifles leveled. Relief surged, then turned to fear as Mercer wheeled his horse toward the cottage. The woman Mercer roared to his men. "Find her!" Sam broke from cover, sprinting across open ground as bullets kicked dust at his heels. He rounded the schoolhouse just as Mercer slid from his saddle and began prowling around the cottage. "It's over. Kane Mercer." Sam Colt called out, his revolver steady in his hand. "Your men are either down or in irons. Drop your gun." Mercer turned slowly, the pistol dangling at his side, that cruel smile stretching across his scarred face. "Fine shooting back there, cowboy," he drawled. "But you're forgetting something. I still don't have what I came for." "You never will," Sam shot back. "Rose Harlan and her little girl are under my protection now, and under this town's protection too," Mercer sneered. Noble words. "But Victor Kane wants that land, and I aim to deliver, one way or another." In a flash, his pistol snapped upward. Sam fired at the same instant. His bullet tore through Mercer's hand, sending the outlaw's shot wide. The gun clattered to the dirt, Mercer clutching his bleeding hand with a string of curses. Just then, Jed Maddox and a half-dozen armed townsmen closed in, rifles raised. Within minutes, Mercer and his surviving men were disarmed and bound. Sam wasted no time. He tore around to the hidden root cellar. "Clara, it's safe now," he called, yanking away the brush that covered the door. The trap door creaked open. Clara Harlan's frightened face peeking out. Behind her, Rose gripped the small revolver Sam had given her, knuckles white. "They're gone?" she asked, her voice steady, though fear shimmered in her eyes. "Captured," Sam assured. He helped them climb out into the daylight. Clara hurled herself into his arms, and though pain flared from the graze on his arm, Sam held her close. "You're hurt," Rose gasped, noticing the blood on his sleeve. "Just a scratch," he dismissed. She slipped the revolver back into her skirt and cupped his face with trembling hands. "You could have been killed." "But I wasn't," he murmured, "and it's finished now. Mercer already confessed Kane hired him to drive you off your land. With that testimony, they'll all hang." Rose's eyes hardened. "Kane came to James last year, tried to buy the land. James refused because the creek watered our crops. I can't believe he'd go this far." "Some men value dirt more than lives," Sam said grimly. "But Kane won't hurt anyone else again." As they walked toward town, Clara clutching Sam's good arm, and Rose close beside him, Sam felt a deep sense of closure. The danger was behind them. The future stretched ahead, theirs for the taking. 2 weeks later, the church bell rang for their wedding. The pews were packed with townsfolk eager to celebrate the union of the deputy who'd faced down Mercer's gang and the schoolteacher he'd pulled from a burning cabin. Clara, radiant in ribbons and a new dress, stood proudly as her mother's attendant. She watched as Sam and Rose spoke their vows. "I, Sam Colt, take you, Rose Harlan, to be my lawful wife." Sam declared, his gray eyes never leaving hers. "I promise to protect and cherish you and Clara, to build a home filled with love and laughter, and to stand with you through whatever storms may come." Rose's voice trembled only slightly. "I, Rose Harlan, take you, Sam Colt, to be my lawful husband. I vow to love and support you, to make a family with you, and to treasure every day we're given." When the minister pronounced them man and wife, Sam kissed her tenderly. Clara squealed with joy, and Sam scooped her up, folding her into their embrace. They were a family now, forged in fire and made whole in love. The celebration spilled out into the schoolyard with fiddles, dancing, and laughter until sunset painted the sky gold. That evening, Sheriff Maddox pressed an envelope into Sam's hand. "A gift from the town council," he said with a grin. Inside lay the deed to 20 acres just outside Clearwater, with a stream running through it. Rose's eyes filled with tears. "This is too much." "Don't argue," Jed chuckled. "The blacksmith's already planning a barn raising and the ladies are stitching up curtains. Try and stop 'em." Sam wrapped an arm around his new bride. "Well, Mrs. Colt ready to build us a home, as long as we're together," Rose whispered, smiling through tears. "Anywhere is home." Clara tugged Sam's hand eagerly. "Can I have a pony at our new house?" Sam chuckled, ruffling her hair. "I reckon we can arrange that." Later, after the music had faded and Clara lay asleep, Sam and Rose stood on the cottage porch beneath a sky thick with stars. "Did you ever imagine," Rose asked softly, "that when you rode toward that fire, it would lead you here?" Sam thought of that night, the flames, the danger, and the choice that changed everything. "No," he admitted. "I was just doing what needed to be done. Never expected to find my heart's desire in the ashes." Rose kissed him, her smile radiant. "Life has strange ways of leading us where we belong. Some things," Sam whispered, holding her close, "are just meant to be." Spring arrived, and with it their new home rose on the gifted land. Men from town raised the barn, women sewed curtains and quilts, and soon the Cole T family settled into a life built on love, trust, and the promise of tomorrow. Sam Colt's gift with horses spread far and wide. Buyers rode in from as far as Denver to claim one of his finely trained mounts. By day, Rose Harlan taught the children of Clearwater, and in the evenings she joined her husband mending fences or sharing quiet talks under the wide Wyoming sky. Clara Harlan flourished under their care, bold and confident, her laughter as free as the prairie wind. The promised pony came true, a gentle dappled mare named Daisy. With Sam's patient teaching, Clara learned to ride, her joyous shouts echoing across their land. That laughter became the soundtrack of their days. 1 year to the night of the fire that had changed everything, Sam and Rose sat side by side on their porch, watching Clara chase fireflies through the twilight. Rose took his hand and pressed it against her stomach. "I've got something to tell you," she whispered. "We're going to have a baby." Joy surged through Sam like nothing he'd ever known. He pulled her into his arms, voice thick with wonder. "A baby, our baby." Clara already had her plans. "She set on naming him Blaze if it's a boy," Rose said with a laugh. "She says it's because you rode through fire to find us." Sam swallowed hard, his throat tight. "Blaze," he repeated. "That's fitting enough." Stars lit the sky one by one. Clara came running, tumbling into her seat between them, with the easy certainty of a child who knew she was cherished. "Tell me again how Papa found us," she begged, leaning into his side. Mr. Cowboy had long since faded to Papa, and every time she said it, Sam treasured it like gold. He smiled, arm around her shoulders. "Well," he began, "I was tracking wild horses when I spotted a glow on the horizon. It was a story they never tired of telling the night a cowboy rode into a burning cabin and carried a mother and daughter out in his arms. A tale of courage and new beginnings born from the ashes. The tale that became the heart of their family. 6 months later, Rose gave birth to a strong, healthy baby boy. They didn't call him Blaze, after all. His name was James Colt, to honor the father Clara had lost and the one she had found. The day they carried him home from the doctors in town, Clara climbed onto Sam's lap, studying his face with that unflinching honesty only children possess. "Are you happy, Papa?" she asked. "Happier than I ever dreamed," Sam said, his gaze shifting from Clara to Rose, to the newborn in her arms. "You three are my whole world, and you are ours." Rose whispered, her eyes brimming as she reached for his hand. "Our hero, who rode through fire to find us. Outside the Wyoming sky stretched endless and wide. Inside the warmth of family glowed brighter than any flame. Sam Colt. Once a drifter, with no place to lay his head, knew at last that the greatest adventure wasn't on the open trail, it was here, in the home they built together, bound by love that would never burn out. And as he held his family close, he gave silent thanks to whatever providence had steered him toward that burning cabin long ago. In saving them, he had found his own salvation and a love that would burn steady and true for all their days to come. If this story has touched your heart, I invite you to stay with us to discover more true tales of the Wild West. Stories that honor resilience, tenderness, and the spirit that God placed in those who blazed the trail. Subscribe, share, leave your thoughts in the comments, and join us once again to journey across this untamed land. Thank you.